Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, thank you for tuning in to yet another episode of the Switch It Up Show. My name is Glenn, and I am here to talk to you all about the wonderful world of indie games on the Nintendo Switch, but alas, I cannot do it alone. I need a partner in crime, and that man, there's only one man for the job, ladies and gentlemen, and that name is Seth Trav.
That's me. How you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing all right, my man. How about yourself?
I'm doing super well because I have a great game to talk about in just a few moments on our 151st episode of the Switch It Up Show.
Absolutely. Now, if you didn't get a chance to listen to episode 150, it was kind of like our greatest hits of the Switch It Up Show, an extravaganza, if you will, the tale of the tape of our history of all the different games that we've talked about, kind of just highlighted a few games here, there, and everywhere for you. So I would highly recommend you check it out perhaps on the iTunes or Spotify or Google Play or Apple Podcasts or Amazon or any of the other wonderful places that you can listen to the Switch It Up Show. You can find a link for that in the notes. I know you're listening to it already, but in case you thought to yourself, where else can I listen to the Switch It Up Show? I need to stream this show like 3 places at the same time. We have you covered. But before we get into that, let's take a few moments to let these sweet beats ride. Now, obviously, Switch It Up Show, Switch, and of course, also like mixing things up, the Switch It Up Show, and that's what I'm doing with my game here on this episode. I'm going to be talking about Thunderflash, which is actually available over on the PlayStation Store. Sounds like sacrilegious to say. Inspired by the nostalgic retro games you know and love, Thunderflash will drop you into the combat zone top down, and the intensity will never let up. Play a solo mission with a partner and choose from bad boy commandos, rock or stand, and go up against an army of mercenaries, military weapons, and more. The Kashmir is being occupied by a criminal organization known as Bloody Wolf, and your job is to make your country proud by taking them all down. Fight your way through waves of soldiers, explosives, vehicles, drones, bosses, and collect more powerful weapons. Show that you have what it takes to be a hardcore warrior. It features intense top-down war zone action. You can collect powerful weapons, single-player and 2-player mode, and boss rush mode. If you already own the PS4 version of this game, you can get the PS5 digital version at no extra cost, and you do not need to purchase it again. Wonderful. It does say that owners of a PS4 disc copy have to have it in order to play it, obviously, and also to be able to get the downloaded version. It's kind of weird that this is on a physical disc. It's $4.99. I don't know where, in what world they're releasing that for that, but I mean that's cool, I guess, if you wanna collect it. This is a little bit different because obviously we specialize in the Switch, but every once in a while we do mix it up. And what's neat about this is this game right now is $4.99. It's rated E for everyone, which
I don't know about that.
I don't
know.
I'm
pretty sure they said the F word a bunch.
I think you're right, actually.
I don't know about this E business.
I'm like, I think this is wrong, but okay, okay, PlayStation.
It's not made for kids on our YouTube channel, which you can check out in these show notes
there you
down
go.
below.
What's neat about this, that's so funny. I'm like, rated E. I mean, I don't know what that means. But it's also like, I wouldn't say it's like super violent or anything, but you are shooting people the entire time, and like there's some blood going on. Like I'm like, E, you would think it would be teen, like, or something.
At least.
I mean, whatever. Like I don't think it's quite M rated. It's not GTA, but like,
I mean, all the F bombs. I think you only got one before it's an R.
I think you're right, my man. But one of the cool things, this game's $4.99, and it's for the PS4 and PS5. What's awesome is that our friends at Retaliaca Games, I'm very proud of myself because I said that correctly. That's not a hard, that's not an easy word to pronace. Look at the
I hope
description.
that's how you pronounce it.
I
don't
think
think I've
so.
ever heard it actually pronounced.
I didn't even hesitate. I just went for it.
No.
I'm having a good reading day. I'm pat myself on the back later. This game's $4.99 on the PSN store, and you get it on PS4 and PS5. They were kind enough to send us 2 codes for it. And what's neat is that there was like, oh, okay, you have one PS4 and one PS5 code. However, both of these codes, like the code gets you either version of the game. You get to pick which one you want. So like, if you end up having a PS4 right now and then later on down the line you want to get the PS5 version, you can. You don't have to buy anything else. It's one code, both versions, which is great because I'm seeing a lot of companies start to charge for that PS5 version, which is which is okay, but props to those out there, like, saving us a little bit of money. That being said, I did, because I was curious. I was like, that's cool that they do that. How much space does this take up? Because that PS5 space is precious, and the space of this game is super, super tiny. It's like 168 megabytes. It's real small. So it kind of leads me to believe it's the same game. Like it's not like one version.
I think
like,
it is.
It's not like one version is far superior to the other. And for this type of game, like this retro shooter game, I don't really think it's necessary. But hey, it does not take up a lot of space. So, I know that PlayStation 5, solid state drive is super, super limited at the moment. So you don't have to worry about that with this. This game is very much, I started playing it and I'm like, this is Commando. If you played Commando on the Nintendo, like the classic 8-bit Nintendo, that's very much like what this game is. Top down, you're working your way up, fighting all these different soldiers and bosses and enemies. And I mean, that's more or less the gist of it. There is some type of the different bosses have different patterns to them, but I felt like as you start to fight them and you're going through the levels, there are certain ways where you can kind of position yourself in front of enemies, especially like stationary enemies. Like there's some turrets and things like that you encounter throughout the game, and you can position yourself in just the right way where they can't hit you. And all you have to do is shoot at them, and they just explode. You basically stand super close to it, put yourself a little off to like one of the sides, and they can't get you, and you can just kind of like mow through them. If it wasn't for that, I feel like the difficulty on this game would be a little bit harder, because there are a good amount of enemies, and once you clear a wave, if you go back to collect some of like the treasure and things that they drop, more enemies spawn. So it's not like once you've killed them, they're gone. They kind of sometimes they come back. They come back. They come back in this one. But I mean, this is like, it's $4.99, and it's like a throwback to that like retro like shooter type game. If you really love like top-down shooters like Commando or the original Metal Gear from Nintendo, like that style, you're gonna really like this game. I feel like this would be cool to play with a friend. It does say that it's 2 players, so I feel like you might get some more enjoyment out of it if you're playing it with somebody. It'd be cool if there was a way to be able to play this online. I know it's only $4.99, but like, I don't know, it's just like now where you don't really find yourself in a situation where you can sit down and play a game with someone, unless you happen to have someone in your house who wants to play this game with you. It would just be neat to be able to enjoy some more of those features. For the price of $4.99, like, I mean, that's pretty good. I feel like that money can go further though on the PlayStation Store. There's an awful lot of games, and there's always all types of sales. But it is really cool that they give you the ability to have both versions, and you don't have to pay, despite the fact that they're kind of both the same game. Hey, like at least they're throwing you that bone. I don't understand the E rating because there's definitely some swearing and some violence in this. Nothing too over the top, but it definitely shouldn't be E. I mean, this game is like the definition of okay for me. I do think the music in it was pretty good, but aside from that, I'm not really impressed. This is solid middle of the road. This is 2.5 out of 5, like the dictionary definition.
I definitely would have to agree with that, man, because I played it too, and I had a frustrating time with it. Frustrating time.
What angered you?
The thing that angered me the most is that it is 2021, believe it or not, and you only have the 8 directions that you can fire your weapon in. So you're stuck with like up, down, left, right, and then all the angles. You've got your other 4 angles. It doesn't do like where you actually aim your joystick and it goes to that direction. So to your point where you were like, oh, it's easier because you can just walk in a straight line and these turrets can't hit you. That's also a detriment for your character because you have to like walk and then like wiggle yourself over to try to hit an enemy a lot of the time. And that was where I was finding a lot of frustration.
I could totally understand that. But from the moment I picked this up and I saw it, I was like, this is Commando. I'm like, this is Nintendo.
Oh yeah,
And I'm like,
it
and I'm like,
looks
this is, I
so much
expected
like
it.
original
Yeah.
Metal Gear.
I expected it to play like that, and it did. And I'm like, I can kind of move diagonal, but I can't shoot. And I'm like, it's the same game. I'm like, it's the same. This is the same game. So I mean, if you're,
Yeah,
they're hitting the nail on the head. I get what they're going for. I just like, I mean, just play Commando.
yeah, right. I'm like,
You know?
yeah. Like I said, I think it's just more frustrating in this day and age because I'm just like, it should do what all other games are doing easily right now, and even a lot of games back then, you know.
Yeah, and for
You
four,
could have Asteroid do it.
yeah, and for $4.99, like you can probably like that's one advantage that the PlayStation Store has over the eShop is that I mean, not that you don't have a wide variety of games on the eShop, but like you have all types of companies that are in PSN, and I mean you can get Contra on PS4 for $7.99. Like that's the game. That's
Absolutely.
the game to play. You know, you can get the
Yeah.
whole collection of all the Contra games for $20. I mean, I know that those games are also on Switch, but it's a lot of people talk about the Switch tax. Things are also way more expensive to play on Switch. So
That's true. We are going to be talking about Cathedral. Ladies and gentlemen, it's currently available $14.99, and you can get 75 gold coins when you purchase it digitally. Make your way through a vast world to unravel the secrets of your past in this fast-paced action-adventure game. Wake up in a world with no recollection of how you got there. A world full of secrets, hidden rooms, dungeons, and towns. Cathedral features a vast world meant for exploring. Control a nameless protagonist from a different world and team up with the spirit known as Soul, and set out to demolish the demigod known only as Ardor, or Ardor. Arbur is what they call him. An action-adventure game ready to challenge you. Just like the days of the past, this is not a game that will hold your hand. Set out adventuring to dungeons where enemies roam every corner and treacherous bosses guard every treasure. A world meant for exploring. A massive handcrafted world filled to the brim with exciting new areas, upgrades, collectibles, and many secrets to be found. Use the handy in-game map so you'll always find your way forward. Just like the good old days, Cathedral is a homage to games of the past, built using modern technology with a retro aesthetics, color palette, sound capabilities, and a chipping good soundtrack. It'll take you on a beautiful pixelated journey. It's from our friends over at December Born AB and Elden Pixels. And this is rated E for everyone and doesn't have a series of swear words present. So, ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost, I got to tell you that Cathedral has an amazing soundtrack. I want to say that I saw on one of the trailers that one of the guys who worked on the Sonic Mania soundtrack worked on this soundtrack. I don't know if it's 100% true, but I definitely believe it because this is some catchy, catchy tunes. There are, I believe, 5 or 6 different sort of world areas and about 12 or 15 different sort of warp zone type area things, archways that you can unlock that'll get you around level to level. This game is very much a classic Metroidvanian. It feels a lot like an old Castlevania or Metroid title. I feel, and I'm probably because I've been playing a lot of Demon Souls and Bloodborne lately, that this would be, like if they made one of those games back on the NES. It's very, very much akin to the old Castlevanias. I do enjoy the aesthetic. I do enjoy the style. I think it looks good for the sort of 8-bit retro look that it's going for. But there are a few times where I feel like that hurts it a little bit just because sometimes the backgrounds kind of blend a little bit with the foreground. I also think that the graphics will sometimes not allow the map to be as good as it may necessarily need to be. I find that it does get to be a little difficult just sort of figuring out where you need to go or if you actually opened up a door on a room, because you can't really tell sometimes if that door was opened. The colors are very, very light and against what the already visited part of the map is. It's really hard to tell sometimes. So I'm walking around like, I've been through here. What's going on? Turns out there's a door. And like I said, the maps just are not very detailed. I need a bit more detail in my map. It would really help me out. It also, it's the inventory, things like that. It could use a little bit more detail, and I feel like you could use a little bit more of a direction to follow. There is a character there that you can just visit, and they'll tell you what you should be working on currently. But the game does allow you to sort of go to different areas that maybe you shouldn't be going to, so that way you can get some more coins to get some better gear, so that way you can purchase and keep moving on. Overall, this is a great game. For $15, you're going to get well over 40 hours of gameplay, I think. I spent some solid time on this, and I feel like there's probably still a bunch of things that I haven't found, so I may wind up playing through it again. So because of all of that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give Cathedral a 4.5 out of 5.
Solid score for like a genre of game that sometimes we are a little bit picky about.
We can be, and I think you should be, because there's so many Metroidvanian titles lately, and so many that want to call themselves roguelike Metroidvanian. It's a very, very wide and beloved genre of game, so I feel like the competition has to be heavy, and Cathedral is shining among the hefty competition.
Oh, well. That's a nice little bow on that review, my man. So we got a 2.5 and a 4.5. We got an average score of 3.5, which isn't bad. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once more for tuning in to this episode of the Switch It Up Show. Let us know if you played either of these games over on Twitter. 3 places you can find us. Triple the fun at Switch It Up Show, at Seth Trav, at From the Crib. We're here, there, and everywhere for you. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, if things ever get boring, you can always switch it up.